You are with Checkpoint on RNZ. The final day of coalition talks at Parliament is rolling into the evening, and the focus is now turning to where New Zealand First will be able to wrangle its mysterious board to get it into one place to make a decision where and when. No one is giving anything away about how the talks are going, aside from saying they are progressing. So when will we know what shape the new government will take? That's not clear either. Here is our Deputy Political Editor, on the job as always, Chris Bramwell.
You think you've got a placard, you must be protesting.
Ken Finlay is almost 80. He's been standing in front of Parliament all week holding a homemade sign with photos of Winston Peters, Jacinda Ardern and James Shaw glued onto it. The sign, handwritten in black vivid marker, reads, "Hope for a strong and stable government."
So, yes, it has. I'm going to do my little bit for the future of the country. I'm a grandfather. There are things happening I don't like.
What kinds of things?
Yesterday, the youth suicide people were here. 600 youth suicides. This morning's news, road accidents. Why? They've cut back on the funding.
Ken says he knows the politicians can see the sign and he's been doing his best to stay all day, but he has to go home sometimes to mind the grandkids. So how long will he stay?
Well, today is supposed to be the last day, so Winston tells us, or talks with National and Labour. Everybody takes what he says with a grain of salt, of course. He might find some reason to extend it, but if this is the last day, well, there's no point in me being here after today.
And Ken is right. Today is supposed to be the final day of formal talks between the negotiating teams, but that does not mean there will be a decision today, tomorrow, or possibly even over the weekend. That's all dependent on when Winston Peters can get the New Zealand First board in one place to make its decision. Jacinda Ardern emerged from her meeting this afternoon, saying Labour and New Zealand First talked about areas where they agree, but also where they may choose to disagree. She also said the process had been robust and important.
It's a given that this process should take some time. We need to make sure we're making a considered decision about the future of New Zealand. This is about the kind of government that's going to be created to govern New Zealand over the next 3 years. I think it's only reasonable that we take this length of time to make sure that relationship is right and that we have built consensus over important areas.
Ms Ardern says Labour entered into the process in good faith and continues to participate in good faith. Winston Peters was asked after his meetings this afternoon what he would be presenting to his board and caucus when he wrapped up this evening's talks.
We'll take an analysis that's agreed upon by both sides as to what they want for us to consider as a board and as a caucus when the time comes.
Mr Peters says he's not leaning one way or the other at this point.
No, I said I'd go into with a total open mind. I've asked my caucus and the board to have the same approach. We've done it the best way we possibly can, and I think that's where things at the moment are. I can honestly tell you I wouldn't take a guess of what anyone is currently thinking.
Meanwhile, the Greens and Labour haven't met today, but they have not yet finished their negotiations, so could continue tomorrow if they get squeezed for time today. The former Green MP Sue Bradford is urging the party not to go soft with Labour in its coalition talks. She says the Greens should be negotiating hard for policy wins, otherwise a deal is not worth it.
There's always a danger with the Greens of going soft and of compromising too much, perhaps. So I'm really hoping they're hanging tough, and it's really hard for them as it is for everybody, I guess, at the moment, that no one can know which way New Zealand First is going to go.
National and New Zealand First are now in the second meeting of the day, with Labour due to meet with New Zealand First again this evening. Winston Peters says he needs a few hours to check when the party's board members will be able to come together for a meeting to consider proposals from National and Labour. He says it's unlikely the board will be able to meet tomorrow to sign off a deal, so it could be the weekend or even Monday. Atu i te whare pārimata mō te hōtaka o te ahiahi nei, ko Chris Bramwell aho.